In today's news, opposition wants probe into $5 million deposit into bankrupted Bank of Asia. Government names 2024 first runner-up Miss BVI 2025. Lead BVI offers hands-on insight into hospitality careers. Despite 1-0 loss, BVI team earns respect with heart and discipline on home turf. We have these and much more coming right up after a quick commercial break.
Orange alert! Orange alert!
Fire is spreading across the BVI. The fastest, most reliable, and affordable fiber internet service is here for you. Look out for fire in these new locations: Slaney, Duff Bottom, Manual Reef, Seacows Bay, Albion, Hannah's, Palestina, Pleasant Valley, and Havers. Fiber is in your area. Call 444-4444 or visit a CCT store to find out more and bring it home. More locations coming soon.
Just give me my service. Yeah. Just give me my service. Just give me my service.
Make the switch to CCT and get connected today. Unlimited talk, text, and data. Visit any CCT store or call us at 444-4444. CCT, Life Unlimited.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for sticking with us. This is your 284 News Edition. I'm Ron Grant, bringing you the latest out of Tortola in the Virgin Islands. Thank you so much for joining us, and a happy Thursday's wish to all. Leader of the opposition and 6th District Representative, the Honorable Myron B. Walwyn, has called for an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding the people's $5 million that was deposited into the BVI Bank of Asia Limited. In a national address Tuesday, Walwyn called on the governor to have this matter investigated. He says at the June 3rd sitting of the House of Assembly during question and answer segment, he asked the Premier and Minister of Finance to disclose the balance of all government bank accounts as of the 31st December 2024 and 31st May 2025, and the Premier responded by providing figures as at December 2024 and 30th April 2025. Now, according to Walwyn, what was particularly alarming with this response was that in December of 2024, there was no government account at the Bank of Asia. But by the end of April 2025, an account had been opened with $5 million deposited. And this, the opposition leader says, is concerning because in January of 2025, the owners of the Bank of Asia filed for bankruptcy and a global asset freeze followed, linked to a legal battle with former business partner.
This was public information and was widely reported and featured prominently in Offshore Alert, a respected financial investigative publication specializing in financial intelligence, particularly relating to offshore finance, fraud, and high-risk entities, which I am absolutely certain that the Ministry of Financial Services would subscribe to. Given its position, the Minister of Finance knew or ought to have known about these developments. This was not a matter hidden behind closed doors. It was in plain sight for any responsible leader to be cognizant of it. It therefore begs the serious question: why would the government of the Virgin Islands choose to deposit public funds into the Bank of Asia at a time when its owners had filed for bankruptcy? And even more troubling, when the bank had reportedly failed to submit audited financial statements for several years. Today, the bank is in liquidation. This means that it is being shut down permanently and its assets will be sold off to repay creditors. Under our own laws, the Virgin Islands Deposit Insurance Corporation, launched in 2024 to provide protection for depositors against the loss of insured deposits within banks in the event of a failure, only protects up to $100,000 per eligible deposit. The rest is unprotected. This means that the government, on behalf of the people, deposited $5 million into this bank that they knew or ought to have known was failing and has now become an unsecured creditor, waiting in line behind insured depositors and secured creditors to receive their payout. In other words, we are probably very likely to lose most, if not all, of that $5 million. While our people continue to struggle with the high cost of living, with roads that are crumbling, water shortages that have become a way of life, and local businesses barely staying afloat, this government is losing $5 million, throwing money away, money that could have been used to ease the burden on our citizens.
Walwyn says this is not the first example of poor financial management by the government, and he referred to the issue when the Premier underestimated the cost of the civil service salary increase by $20 million, with no plan to to raise revenue or reduce spending to make up for that amount. Now, according to the opposition leader, the Premier in a statement is blaming public officers in the Ministry of Finance for placing the $5 million in the Bank of Asia. Walwyn called on the Premier to stop laying blame, take responsibility for his actions, and to come straight with the people of the Virgin Islands.
It is always someone else's fault, not this government's. And now, instead of taking responsibility, the Premier is calling for an internal audit. But let us be honest, he should not be the one calling for anything, and the outcome of any audit should be fully available to the public for viewing. The Premier fully well knows that internal audits are not available for public scrutiny. This is yet another attempt to run from the consequences of his actions and hide from public scrutiny. It is a fundamental principle of good governance that one cannot investigate or call an investigation into a matter in which they have personal or institutional involvement. This undermines the integrity of any investigation. What we need is an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding the people's $5 million, one that the public can trust. Therefore, I am publicly calling on the governor to have this matter investigated. The people of this territory deserve no less. Honorable Premier, I urge you, come straight with the people. Be honest, be accountable, stop pointing fingers and start leading. Citizens and residents of the Virgin Islands, I know that many of you are feeling frustrated and disappointed during these challenging times that we continue to face. We all are. I share those feelings and understand the weight they carry. But I encourage you to not lose hope as better days are ahead.
Following the cancellation of the 2025 Miss BVI pageant, the first runner-up from the 2024 Miss BVI pageant, Miss Danielle D. Hodge, has been named Miss BVI 2025. This decision was announced by Junior Minister of Culture and Tourism, the Honorable Luce Hodge-Smith, who confirmed that a decision was made to coronate Miss Hodge due to her full participation in last year's competition. She said, and I quote, "We are justified in crowning her because she actually went through the pageant. She participated in all of the categories and she was judged," Honorable Smith said. A coronation event will be held in the coming weeks, with details to be shared with the public once finalized. The Miss BVI pageant, a key cultural institution in the Virgin Islands, will not be held in 2025 as previously announced by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sustainable Development. The decision to cancel this year's event came after challenges surrounding logistics, participation levels, and planning timelines. However, the Junior Minister of Culture and Tourism, Honorable Luce Hodge-Smith, said and reaffirmed the government's commitment to the pageant's legacy, stating, and I quote, "While the pageant will not take place in its traditional format, we remain committed to upholding this important national event's long-standing legacy and high standards." She also added, "We look forward to the anticipated return of the pageant in 2026, where we will once again showcase a representative of the Virgin Islands on both regional and international stages." Up next, Gonsalves details disaster fund, urges public to stay ready. We have much more coming right up.
At Higher BVI, we're not just about business. We're about empowering lives, and that is because we aspire to inspire. By choosing us, you're supporting a company that believes in equal opportunities, diversity, and community growth. Our mission goes beyond profit. It's about providing HR solutions, fostering talent, and leaving a positive impact. Join us in building a better future. a better BVI. Choose Higher BVI, where your support isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. Together, we're changing lives in these beautiful Virgin Islands.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Aye. This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I watching ball. I even watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you all for sticking with us. Lead BVI, a program under the Youth Empowerment Program, continues to make waves by instilling first-hand experience and training in the area of hospitality, tourism, and customer service. The students received a wide variety of training and exposure to various facets of the industry. In a recent interview, students of the second cohort shared their experiences thus far.
I would say the most enjoyable aspect of this so far would be the events that we've done. I enjoy event planning and the sectors around events, so planning, hosting and things like that. So the events that we've done have definitely been the best part, as well as like the different tours we've done. So like we've gone to Norman Island, we've looked at the different job sectors within hosting a restaurant and owning a restaurant, so that was very nice.
Okay.
My favorite part definitely has to be our hands-on work when we do our internships, especially since we're working with a lot of local businesses, of course. It's a lot of, you see a lot of behind the scenes and what really goes into those businesses, and they put in lots and lots of work. For me, I feel as though like you don't really see what they truly show when it comes to the basic jobs you see, restaurants or any of those types of things. And when you work behind there, you just see how much, work, a lot of work, management, organization that you really have to put into those kind of things. So I really appreciate LEAD giving this opportunity, to see this insightful things, especially as a youth. Students also spoke on the scope of the program.
Well, we recently did a tour on the Disney cruise,
okay.
And on that tour we looked at we learned about the different job sectors that you wouldn't normally expect to be on the cruise. So like a psychologist, doctors, and things like that. So we learned about those type of things. And as I said, like Norman Island, we've toured Norman Island, we've toured the restaurants and the different jobs behind the restaurants. So like how they plan for the next day, who are the different job runners, and different things like that.
Okay. Now, when we look at tourism and hospitality, is there anything that you guys learned about yourself that you perhaps didn't know? Any qualities, whether it's patience, organization, that you didn't know that you had before, but this program perhaps brought out in you?
I would say I'm very adaptive to a lot of other personalities. I would say I'm very friendly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I work really well with persons, even if we don't have if we have our differences, I could still work with you, and that's really important when it comes to hospitality, because teamwork is very important, of course.
Okay, and Brianna?
I agree. I feel as though I'm not one to, put myself out there to interact with people unless they interact with me. But with this LEAD course, I've been able to do that. It's encouraged me to get out there and to develop my public speaking and, be more friendly to those who aren't as friendly,
The students also spoke on how the program has influenced them to consider hospitality-related careers.
Initially, when I first started LEAD, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But my family does own businesses in the hospitality industry, such as Esme's Nail Salon and Simply Delicious. And, you know, when you first get the opportunity to be like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? You're like, oh, I don't really want to do anything in the family, you know, it's my family. But I feel like LEAD has really opened my eyes to see how wonderful it is that, you know, tourism is very important in the BVI, and it really opens your eyes to see this is what the next generation has to work with. And, you know, I want to support my family, and I feel I would do decent or great in the entrepreneur hospitality industry.
Speaking on the importance of expanding their horizons, they also encourage other students to be open to new experiences such as LEAD BVI.
Well, I would say that they should really take this opportunity so they can learn from the program and to really build themselves for personally, like their personal self and professionally.
Good.
Yes.
I would say there's nothing to be scared of. These are people we're going to see in the future eventually. Maybe your bosses might work for you. So you don't need to be scared to do nothing, to speak in front of people, in front of crowds.
Exceptional. Good advice.
Because you're only building yourself up, making yourself more known to people, setting a better picture for yourself for the future.
Okay.
So when somebody sees the future, somebody say, hey, I remember that young man.
As St. Vincent and the Grenadines enters the 2025 hurricane season, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has revealed that the government has allocated some EC $120 million to prepare for potential natural disasters, particularly tropical cyclones. The funding includes EC $50 million from the country's contingency fund and a loan facility from the World Bank designed for disaster response. In a recent statement, Prime Minister Gonsalves emphasized the importance of preparing for the season and ensuring that sufficient resources are available to address the potential impacts of a hurricane, stating, and I quote, "I always try to put aside some money for the season," referencing the funds available through the contingency fund, which is partially fueled by 1% point of the country's 16% value-added tax. Now, the funds, which are specifically designed for disaster response, include EC $50 million in the contingency fund and EC $54 million in a catastrophe deferred drawdown option loan facility from the World Bank. This loan can be accessed in the event of a natural disaster and has a period of 45 years repayment period. In addition to the World Bank loan, the Prime Minister also mentioned the support from the Caribbean Development Bank, which typically provides a loan of up to $5 million for post-disaster recovery. Additionally, Taiwan, a long-standing ally, has pledged to provide financial assistance as needed, particularly in the aftermath of a major disaster. Gonsalves reflected on the significant damage caused by past hurricanes, particularly Hurricane Beryl in 2019, which left nearly $1 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars in loss and damage to the island. The government is actively preparing the country's infrastructure, including the inspection of emergency shelters, which number 140 for the 2025 season. Up next, USCG allies intercept major smuggling operation in the Caribbean Sea. Coming right up.
My name's Henry Bosch. I work for PPG. I'm here to explain to you the use of the Deltron NXT paint line and Enviro-based high performance, one being solvent-borne and the next being waterborne. The difference is that one is totally manufactured with rosins and thinners and all the good stuff that solvents bring versus our new technology, which is waterborne, which is 100% latex. What we're gonna do is that we reduce the solvent-borne with a DT885, which is a mid-temp reducer, and the waterborne uses T494, which is a waterborne reducer. We will today be using either DCU 2042, which is a speed clear, or we will be using DCU 2021, which is a classic. We have here our equipment. We have 8-ounce measuring cups, And we also have our 32-ounce mixing cup. We will also have with us our Venturi. This is a blower for us to dry the waterborne paint, which speeds up the process. The good thing about waterborne paint is that as soon as it evaporates, you're good to go. So now Gilligan will dilute the waterborne paint with the waterborne reducer. We made 8 ounces, that would be 1.6 ounce. It always has to be properly mixed until we get an even mixture within the paint mixing cup. So when we spray, we don't see uneven coats of color. So right now we're filling our paint gun with 8 ounces of diluted paint. We're gonna see how far 8 ounces will take us. Waterborne paint seems to look blotchy on your first coat. Don't pay no mind to that. Don't try to achieve full coverage on your first spray. Excellent. Let it dry. So the process in waterborne is 2 even coats, and then we have what we call a dust coat. Well, now we're gonna have Mr. Brown apply the first coat of clear on his waterborne panel. We'll let it flash off, and then he'll come back and coat it with his second coat to finish it off. As you had seen in the previous shots, we had a little blotchiness, and you'll see some patches. That's all due on purpose to sandpaper to prove that with EnviroBase high performance, all technicians, the body work has to end at 800 grit or plus. Well, EnviroBase is like, we're trying to shift everyone into that slowly but surely. The entire west coast of the United States and all of Canada has already been on waterborne for the past 10 years. And now soon it'll be the eastern seaboard, which covers the Caribbean. So when that happens, we'll all be affected. So it's best to start now, start trying and applying waterborne, because eventually everyone will be on it. And referring to technicians, it's less harmful because it doesn't have all the toxic chemicals that solvent-borne paints do.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. The U.S. Coast Guard has offloaded more than 138 million worth of illicit drugs from the Caribbean Sea following a series of successful interdictions. The drugs, which included 17,450 pounds of cocaine as well as 2,558 pounds of marijuana, were seized by the crews of the U.S. Coast Guard cutters Valiant and Vigorous in late May and early June. On Friday, the crew of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Valiant offloaded 17,450 pounds of cocaine and 2,585 pounds of marijuana, worth approximately $132 million at Port Everglades, Florida. Just a day earlier, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Vigorous offloaded around 840 pounds of cocaine valued at $6.2 million at Coast Guard Base Miami Beach. Now, these seizures were the result of 6 interdictions conducted by the U.S. Coast Guard and their interagency partners, including the U.S. Navy, the Royal Canadian Navy, and the Royal Netherlands Navy. The operation targeted transitional criminal organizations trafficking drugs through the Caribbean Sea. The series of drug seizures began on May 19th, when a maritime patrol aircraft located a suspicious vessel about 85 miles north of Aruba. The crew of the Valiant interdicted the vessel and seized approximately 2,645 pounds of cocaine. Just a few days later, on May 22nd, the Valiant's crew interdicted another vessel, seizing an additional 7,750 pounds of cocaine. The operations continued on May 25th, with USS Gravely's crew intercepting a vessel approximately 290 miles south of the Dominican Republic and seizing 840 pounds of cocaine. On May 29th, 2 more successful interdictions were made, with approximately 750 pounds of cocaine seized by the Canadian Navy and 4,050 pounds of cocaine and 2,585 pounds of marijuana seized by the Royal Netherlands Navy. The final interdiction occurred on May 31st, approximately 185 miles north of Colombia, where 2,250 pounds of cocaine were seized. Now, the seized drugs were offloaded and will be processed for further action. It wasn't a win on the scoreboard, but it was definitely a night for the British Virgin Islands, and a defining night, that is, for the men's national football team. Facing off against Jamaica in a 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match, the BVI squad delivered a performance full of heart, structure, and national pride. Despite a 1-0 loss at the Aero Shirley Recreation Grounds, the team walked away with their hands and heads high, proving that BVI stands tall in defeat. From kickoff, BVI displayed discipline against a higher-ranked opponent. They disrupted Jamaica's rhythm and stayed compact throughout. The efforts did not go unnoticed. Head coach David Perez reflects on the team's fight and energy.
The performance of the team, I think, is perfect today. The team is working in everything 200% capacity for suffer, because it's normal against Jamaica, and not 200% happy because we lose and don't like lose. I think we compete face to face with Jamaica and it's so difficult.
Jamaica struck from a set piece in the first half, but 19-year-old keeper Frankie Beckles remained composed in goal. Beckles highlights the defensive effort.
But for the second half, the change of the players or adjustment of the system is only because Jamaica, of course, need to score again. And for us, we have more space for attack and include one striker more for competing 1v1 with the central back of Jamaica.
Goalie, you were under a lot of pressure from Lord. Talk about what it was like in the goal.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. It was a test. Dealing with the heat, dealing with the fact that Jamaica are going to come and put you under pressure. But I think, for me personally, I had a good game.
Beckles also shared on his personal performance and mindset.
I was talking to my back line, which is important, made the saves that I needed to make. I think it was unfortunate with the goal to give away the set piece in the first place. And he's done well with a header, but overall, performance was good, and I'm glad with the team and how we dug in and how we were strong and put our bodies on the line. So,
Technical Director Dan Sayers praised the squad's cohesion and resilience.
Coming into the game, I mean, obviously David is the head coach, and what we really just asked the players to do is to leave everything out on the field today, to make the BVI proud, play for the fans, play for your families, work as a team, simple things like that. And standing from this side, I was very proud to say that it looked like a team out there today. One of the reflections that I did have was the ability of the players to execute the coach's plan. And you can see that the players were together on that. Everybody was bought in. They were working as a team together. They made it difficult for Jamaica to penetrate most of the game. So for me, it's a great day. I'm very proud of the team, and I think the fans are as well.
And even after taking the win, Jamaica's coach was disappointed by the team's performance.
This game was a lot about individuals and keep performing. We'd done well in the previous two games in terms of performance and results. We didn't follow it up today. That's the biggest disappointment for me, was that we never followed the performance that we had last week, this week.
The squad showed tactical discipline, youthful leadership, and emotional maturity, qualities that suggest a promising future. That is it for today's News Roundup. Be sure to follow us for your daily news updates at tweet4media.com and like us on Facebook at tweet4media and tweet4bvi on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. I'm Ron Grant. I'll see you again on Monday. Do have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Happy Friday.